start over. So our wise teaching a day from our Buddhist calendar. For anyone who doesn't have one of these calendars and would like one, they're free and they're on the table in the main entrance. So today is January 28th, and it says, eradicate the self-conceited mind, which means to remove the self-centeredness that we tend to think of. And that's what it's reminding us. I would like to see how this works. Got a couple of quotes here. It's going to be hard for us to see. So the first quote says, no matter how busy we are, we must not forget to nourish our hearts. We can get busy in our lives and forget about ourselves and think that everything that is important in our life is getting things done. One of the most important things in our life for getting things done is looking after ourselves and nourishing our hearts. So this is from Zen Master Ryokan, and he lived from 1758 to 1831, and we'll talk a little bit more about him today. Next quote is, our thoughts and actions shape our reality, and we must be mindful of what we are creating. I think we're very busy people, and I don't think that we often will take time to think about ourselves as creating things, and we just go about our busy lives, and we can easily get caught up and just react to our emotions rather than thinking about what we are creating through our actions. And the last one I would like to show us here is, the mind is like a garden, and we must tend to it with care and attention. I like that one a lot because if anybody has a garden and they take care of it every day and prune it and water it and make sure things are nice and just trying to take care of it, this is saying if we're not able to take care of ourselves, maybe consider it to be like a garden that you would do, or even something else that you take good care of. Think of yourself as taking good care of yourself in the same way. Now, I am always interested to hear about the life of devout Buddhists. And I recently came across an article written by the Bishop of the Buddhist Churches of America, and his name is Reverend Marvin Harada. And he talks about Zen Master Ryokan. And I had never heard of this Zen Master, but have learned in my experiences that if my teachers talk about other Buddhists, it is because we can learn from them. Now, who was Zen Master Ryokan? He was a Zen master who lived in the late 18th and early 19th centuries, and he chose a life of a wandering hermit, living in caves and huts and becoming known for his poetry and his calligraphy. And he is regarded as one of the greatest Zen master poets in Japan's history. I had no idea. I just came across him just recently. So now in Reverend Harada's article, he talks about how Master Ryokan lived. And we can see an amazing Buddhist in Master Ryokan whose sense of oneness of nature would be hard for us to duplicate. This is a, see it, I can't see anything up there, so. But it just shows him wandering and then also playing with children. And we'll learn a little bit more about that as I go along. So remember, you're saying that the things that Master Ryokan is doing in his life would be hard for us to duplicate in our life. So Master Ryokan rejected the strict regimented life of the Zen monastery after living and practicing it for many, many years. Instead, he chose to live in a tiny hut at the base of the mountains. Once, Master Ryokan noticed a bamboo plant growing under the floor of his hut. Doesn't seem too significant, does it? Little bamboo plant just growing underneath. When the bamboo grew to the bottom of the floor of his hut, Master Ryokan cut a hole in the floor so the bamboo could continue to grow. The bamboo plant grew and flourished, but in time it grew to the ceiling of his hut. Master Ryokan then cut a hole in the roof of the hut so the bamboo plant could keep growing. Master Ryokan's regard for the bamboo plant didn't allow him to cut the plant or let the floor or ceiling stop its growth. Now, I was thinking about that, and I often take walks in the community or go on walking paths, and especially in my community, and I'm sure in other communities as well, when I walk around, some people have their grass just manicured perfectly. And then others let it grow until the grass goes so tall that it just falls over. Now, when I have been walking around, I would think, maybe those people are lazy and they just don't want to cut their grass. And then I read about Master Ryokan, and he has such regard for nature that he couldn't cut the bamboo shoot that was growing. And then I think, well, how silly of me to think that maybe someone's lazy, maybe they're bodhisattvas, and they have a hard time cutting the grass. And we think of grass as just a weed that grows, and when I get out with the lawnmower, my thought is to get it finished quickly so that I can go do something else that I enjoy more. However, maybe there'd be a pause and think about, okay, I'm disrupting the home and the life of this weed, the grass, and maybe the home of animals that are insects that are living in there. So when I think about this, eradicate the self-conceited mind. So remove our self-centeredness. And when we think about the grass and maybe nature, we can see ourselves as like humanity really looks after themselves, right? I mean, we can think of this as me personally removing my own self-centeredness, but we're involved in a species that really think of ourselves before others, mowing grass, changing landscapes and doing things. And so this is part of the remove the self-centeredness that we live in, at least in my mind anyways. Now in the summertime in Japan, there are lots of mosquitoes due to the humidity in ponds and rice paddies in the country. And we all are familiar with mosquitoes and how annoying they can be. Now, people would sleep with mosquito nets during the night. Master Ryokan would sleep with a mosquito net, but he would sleep with one leg out of the net to help feed the mosquitoes. Reverend Harada asks us, how can anyone do something like that? Would any of us? I don't know if I would. Right? Master Ryokan had such regard for all forms of life that he even offered his leg at night so that the mosquitoes could bite and feed off of him. So, when we mentioned here at the beginning, it'd be hard for us to duplicate Master Ryokan's way of living. However, I think rather than having to duplicate it, I think the importance of this is at least thinking about it, like what his effort was. We all have different levels of effort, but maybe just thinking about it is good enough, and not just be self-centered about, just my own needs. Now, looking into a little bit more of Master Ryokan, I found an article written in the Tricycle magazine from the year 1994, and it says Master Ryokan was traveling with a young monk, and at a certain tea house they received food that contained fish. The young monk left the fish untouched, as is the Orthodox Buddhist custom. But Master Ryokan gobbled it down without a moment's thought. That food has fish in it, you know, said the monk to Master Ryokan. Yes, and it was delicious, he said with a smile. That evening they were put up by a farmer, and the following morning the young monk complained, the fleas were biting like crazy, and I was up all night. But you slept like a baby. Why is that? I eat fish when it is offered, he said. But I also let the fleas and mosquitoes feast on me. Neither bothers me at all. So Ryokan slept inside a mosquito net, not to protect himself, but to protect the bugs. He feared he might accidentally kill them in his sleep. However, he left one leg outside the net so the insects would not go hungry. Now, like the Buddha, Master Ryokan gratefully received whatever was put into his begging bowl. So I think, you know, if we were actually following to the letter how Master Ryokan lived, we probably wouldn't be able to drive our car or go in a bus, because there's bugs that are always getting hit by the cars, and right, they're dying all the time. And he wore the net around him so that he wouldn't roll over unknowingly and hurt a bug, right? So this is where I think that the importance for us is to just be thinking about it, if nothing else. Now, as a monk, Master Ryokan lived off of the donations and offerings that he would receive from people when he went begging with his bowl. Master Ryokan would never waste any food and would keep his leftovers in a bowl. Sometimes the food would begin to spoil and maggots would grow on the food. And in the wintertime, Master Ryokan would cover the maggots to keep them warm in the freezing cold. Could we live the way Master Ryokan lived? Maybe, maybe not. I know that for a fact, our current and our previous head priest from Kyoto in the Honganji. Whenever they are given a plate of food, no matter what it is, they eat it all. And sometimes I heard stories where they would eat, and then someone out of their generosity would give them another plate to eat. And you can just imagine, if you're already full, that they wouldn't say anything and they just eat it, not to waste anything and to take what someone else has given them. So it's very interesting. But that is something for us to think about when we're eating, and how we prepare and what we do with the leftovers that we have. You might think I am asking if we could live in a small hut with little possessions, but I think the question is deeper than that. Could we live the way Master Ryokan lived, with the enlightened sense of the oneness of life? I think that is what is the key, or the root of us at least thinking about it all the time, is starting to recognize and understand the oneness of life, that everything is interconnected and that we are supported by other beings and other living beings so that we can continue to exist. Master Ryokan saw the true meaning of life in all things, in the bamboo, in the mosquitoes, and even in the maggots. Master Ryokan was also famous for his time spent with children. He would let them bury him in the leaves as he played dead. He would play hide and seek with them in the village. And once Master Ryokan hid in an outhouse, and the children knew he was there, but decided to play a joke on him and leave him there and not look for him. The next morning, someone found Master Ryokan crouching in the corner of the outhouse and said, "Master Ryokan, what are you doing here?" And Master Ryokan said, "Shh, please be quiet. Don't tell the children where I am." But he was a very dedicated person. These stories and many more have touched the hearts of all people of all ages in Japan. Master Ryokan became a great poet and a calligrapher. His poems reflect not only his understanding of Buddhism, but they reflect his awareness of nature. Reverend Harada provides a few poems for us to enjoy. Now, there's two books that are brought to our attention, and I went and checked them out. And these are two books that I'm going to get for myself, because one, it talks about, it shows the poetry and everything, but from a little bit of further reading that I did briefly, the poems and the poetry and the haiku from Master Ryokan is what provides us with the sense of how he lived and the way that he approached nature and found the oneness in all life through his Buddhist following. So here is the first. Now this comes from the book called One Robe, One Bowl, The Zen Poetry of Ryokan by John Stevens. How can we ever lose interest in life? Spring has come again, and cherry trees bloom in the mountains. And then another one, the bamboo grove in front of my hut. Every day I see it 1,000 times, yet never tire of it. And then this one, the last one from this book that we're going to see is, as I watch the children happily playing, without realizing it, my eyes fill with tears. Now, although Master Ryokan was a Zen monk, he also appreciated the Nembutsu, so this school of Buddhism. He also appreciated the Jodo Shinshu Nembutsu way of life. As we can see from this poem from the book Ryokan, Zen Monk Poet of Japan, and it was translated by Burton Watson. If they ask if Ryokan has some last words for the world, tell them he says, Namo Amida Butsu. So let us end our service by reciting the Buddha's name with gratitude. Would you please join me in Gasho? We call out the Buddha's name with gratitude. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda. Namanda. Thank you very much, everyone. It's a pleasure